Elijah sees a violent scene taking place in front of them. A boy is shoved by a brutal kick as he collapses to the ground, begging for his life. The bully is a scumbag brat who hates dwarves and mocks the child for using mana to protect himself. He urges the kid to release his mana at once, and when he doesn't comply, the punk uses his pipe to beat him up. But Elijah quickly tackles this fool and goes to check on the boy. This bully's forehead rivals the height of Mount Everest as he gets up and bitch slaps Elijah across his face, shoving his glasses away. The bully is offended that they ruined his fun, while Vincent acts like an adult and urges to call the guards before something serious goes down. However, Arthur grabs his hand and stops him, because he's pissed as hell. Elijah is one of their victims now, but he can't use magic to save his life as it will put all of them in trouble. He maintains his calm when one of the bullies recognizes the symbol from the Darv Kingdom on his uniform. They're surprised to find this discovery as the bully grabs his hair and asks if he jumped in to save one of his own. Elijah's in a pinch and can't win the physical fight, when suddenly, Arthur comes up from behind with a pipe of his own. They can't believe they've run into another annoyance. But the way Arthur is walking towards them, I have a feeling they're going to be rushed to the ER. In the royal carriage, Curtis is disappointed that they have to travel with so much discretion without their parents. Their guard expresses that the event is tightly guarded, so there will be nothing to worry about as he's their greatest protection. This is to respect Princess Cathleen's desire not to catch any attention. She wasn't planning on coming here in the first place but came because of her brother's interest. Curtis thinks it's a miracle that a girl like her could survive the clutches of the royal family for so long. He teases her, thinking that she'd be locked in a library all day if not for him. She bites back, reminding him that he considered her a last option after his friend cancelled. Moving on, Curtis regrets leaving his bond, which, if you guys recall, was a rare lion mana beast. Unfortunately, the beast is just as big as the carriage and not yet trained for the job. Curtis tries to seek Cathleen's approval for Grotter, but she's busy eyeing down someone. This someone just so happens to be our boy. Back to the scene at hand, Vincent is out here afraid for the children's lives. He thinks this is surely the day Arthur becomes a murderer. So he pounces in front and tries to control the situation in his hands. In response, the bullies call him an old fart. This makes him pissed because he's doing his best to protect them, and here they are calling him old. Arthur calls for Vincent's name and with an innocent yet brooding smile, requests that he move aside. A chill runs down his spine as he clears the path for the boy, already accepting that these lousy kids are dead now. Green Hair wants to act like a hero, so he's up first. He approaches with a pipe in hand, only to get smashed in his face with an attack so powerful that it leaves the rest of them stunned. Blonde wants to get a piece of our boy next, so he approaches Arthur with his trained sword skills, acting overconfident. It's technique passed down in his family, but Arthur can easily navigate his eyes and keep track of the boy's movements. The kid attempts to use a feint before releasing an ultra-fast lunge strike. Yes, it's really called that stupidly obvious name. Arthur stands there and dodges it point blank as if he wasn't ever afraid. He stares his opponent down and merely slaps his back, breaking the pipe as well after reinforcing it with mana. Arthur is feeling confident in his ability to finish this fight by throwing some hands. The leader of the group calls him cocky, but this dude doesn't know what's coming from him. Jamiel is a person who possesses a trident's fist, a punch far more extraordinary than normal. He's hoping to remind Arthur his place in the world. But when the boy coldly approaches him, terror sets in with those paralyzing eyes of blue. He can't fathom how a mere kid can possess a more damning pressure than that of his adult father. Regardless, he swoops in to attack, only for Arthur to chuck a fist in his face and beat the ever-living shit out of him. This dude's face receives plastic surgery as he crashes to the ground. He gets back up, reinforcing magic in his attack and releasing it at once. In response, an icy shield manifests to protect them. A girl with luscious black hair has stepped up to save them. It's Princess Kathleen. Before we proceed further, here's a little inner monologue of Kathleen Glider. Arthur was just another boy in her eyes, like her childish brother and all his friends. At least, that's what she thought in the short time she was with him. But her gaze seemed to always go back to him. Maybe that's how she realized he wasn't like the immature boys she had grown to dislike. Arthur was different. As she steps forward and freezes everything, her brother, Curtis Glider, also steps forward, demanding to know the meaning behind all this fuss. The guys who were trying to bully Elijah begin to cower in fear, and it doesn't take them long to drop to their knees and bow their heads to the ground, begging for mercy. In their defense, these bastards claim they were just enjoying their time chatting with each other when that barbaric peasant started beating them up for no reason. Of course, these baseless allegations annoy the hell out of Elijah, and before he can speak in his own defense, this loud bastard interjects, claiming that he and his friends are the ones being bullied here. Meanwhile, Elijah helps the dwarf kid stand up. Seeing the banged-up kid, even Kathleen Glider can tell these bastards aren't telling the full truth. What they've said so far doesn't explain how the dwarf got injured. On the other hand, it seems her brother isn't as sharp as she is, and he quickly believes these bastards' words. He begins interrogating our boy, asking if what they're saying is true. But Arthur isn't here to entertain questions from a clown who doesn't have enough brains to see through the obvious lies. The bullies on the ground find a spark of hope when they see how nonchalant and arrogant Arthur is being toward the Prince of Sapin. They're sure Arthur is screwed for sure. The escort knight quickly steps in, stopping Arthur from just walking away after insulting the Prince of Sapin like that. But my guy? He grabs that filthy hand of the knight's and apologizes in a cold, sharp tone. He makes it clear that his speech just tends to turn crass when he hears bullshit. The grip Arthur has is so strong that the escort knight is left questioning his life choices. But before shit escalates into a full-blown mess, Vincent steps up and tries to apologize on Arthur's behalf. He explains that what Arthur meant to say was that the boys on the ground are the ones lying. The prince is quite startled to see Vincent Helstia here. Vincent quickly explains that they were on their way to the announcement at the plaza when they came across this group of hooligans bullying the poor dwarf boy. As if to seal the deal, the beaten-up dwarf boy even coughs up blood, making it painfully clear he's seriously injured. The prince finally channels all his annoyance toward the bullies and demands to know their identities. The first guy introduces himself as Jamiel, the firstborn son of House Trident. As soon as the prince hears the mention of such an influential and renowned house, he finds himself at a loss. While it's obvious Jamiel has been bullying the dwarf boy, the prince can't help but remember that the Trident house is a major donor to both his family and Xyrus Academy. Since he does not want to stir up any bad blood or animosity, the prince is left unsure of what to do next. Meanwhile, it looks like Princess Caitlin already knows exactly what should be done with these bastards. But before she can hand down her judgment, her brother cuts her off. Contrary to what his sister wanted to suggest, he tells everyone to just reconcile and move on, especially since, according to him, there are no serious injuries or major damage. This bastard Jamiel had already expected the outcome to swing in his favor. After all, his father pours copious amounts of gold into the kingdom, which makes Jamiel practically untouchable. But we all know Arthur isn't about to let this incident slide. He quickly turns to Uncle Vincent and asks if he still has the communication scroll. As soon as Arthur gets his hands on it, he wastes no time and calls out Cynthia Goodsky. Hearing this, Jamiel thinks Arthur is a complete clown for foolishly involving the director of Xyrus Academy. At first, Cynthia seems annoyed, assuming it's Vincent calling her. But her tone shifts dramatically when she realizes it's Arthur on the other side of the scroll. She immediately goes from irritated to chummy, even a little smitten, which leaves everyone standing behind Arthur completely bewildered. Arthur doesn't waste a second. He tells his old friend that he wants her to expel Jamiel Trident and his group of friends from the academy for racial bullying and using lethal magic within the city. At first, all the criminals responsible start flinching and trembling, dreading what might come next. But then Cynthia casually asks what's wrong and what Jamiel Trident did. For a moment, Jamiel feels a glimmer of hope. Even if that peasant Arthur is a bit close to the director, there's no way she would side with him. Not when his family pours so much money into her school. But my guy doesn't hesitate before issuing his own subtle threat. He might reconsider joining her academy. Well, that's all it takes for the old lady to fall in line. Without a second thought, she complies with Arthur's wishes and rolls out an order on the spot. Jamiel and his group are officially expelled. Later, the prince personally visits Arthur to apologize for his earlier behavior, admitting it was unbecoming of a prince to be swayed so easily. Arthur also apologizes for letting his emotions get the better of him earlier. Surprisingly, the prince doesn't mind at all. In fact, he respects Arthur for standing his ground. House Trident or not, the prince is just glad those students won't be attending Xyrus Academy anymore. After that, the prince joins his sister back in the carriage. As he takes his seat, he mumbles about how Arthur is quite a strange fellow. While there's no doubt Arthur is a good kid, something about him doesn't feel right. But his sister doesn't seem to be paying him any attention. She suddenly stands up, and out of the blue she invites Arthur for a tea time together once they meet each other in school. Well, my guy has no reason to reject the offer, so he simply says yes. Meanwhile, Elijah standing behind him can't help but feel a bit jealous that the princess herself invited him. Even her brother is absolutely dumbfounded, seeing his usually heartless sister showing interest in someone. By now, a huge crowd has gathered to hear the big announcement that's about to happen. All these people are just moments away from discovering that there's another continent out there. Arthur can't help but look forward to seeing how everyone will react. But there's one thing bothering him. The fact that this other continent has been spying on Dicathan using camouflaging mana beasts and recording artifacts. They wouldn't be doing that unless they were either scared of Dicathan or had some seriously malicious intentions. By now, Arthur isn't sure if he made the right decision in expediting Dicathan's ability to reach this new continent. Perhaps it's for the best. If these people from the other continent really are hostile, then Dicathan might be able to launch a preemptive attack. Suddenly, his thoughts are interrupted by his mother, who notices his sulking mood and looks worried, but he quickly assures her that he's fine. To this, she warmly responds that, while she'll always worry about him, she'll never stop him from doing what he wants. As much as Arthur wanted to promise her that she'd never have to worry about him, he knew he couldn't lie to her like that. So, instead, he simply flashes a smile and thanks her for her concern. A few mages step forward and use their magic to create a giant holographic screen, ensuring everyone in the crowd has a clear view of the king as he delivers his speech. The king begins his address, introducing the other big shots that are beside him. Then, finally, he reveals the main reason everyone has gathered to listen. He assumes that many in the audience are aware of the animosity that has existed between humans and elves, while even the dwarves have long been considered just business partners. However, that's not the way they want things to continue. He explains that he, along with other leaders of their respective races, has met countless times over the past few years in an effort to unite their races. 2 years ago, they took the first step by allowing members of all 3 races to become adventurers. It brings a smile to his face to see parties of humans, elves, and dwarves forming and working together toward a common goal. Last year marked another milestone. Xyrus Academy welcomed students from the Kingdom of Elenoir and the Kingdom of Darv. Now, a new generation of mages can form friendships and memories without the outdated barriers that once separated them. As a leader, he acknowledges that he and his fellow leaders understand how difficult it may be for some to adjust, especially after years of constant enmity. However, he emphasizes that it's time for everyone to let go of the past and any lingering discrimination. Thinking beyond narrow perspectives has become a necessity, not just for individual growth, but for the future of this continent and its children. All the people gathered seem to support the king's idea. Next, it's the turn of the king of the elves, Alduin, to deliver his speech. He begins by expressing how honored he feels to speak on behalf of those gathered here on this unforgettable day. He firmly agrees with the message King Glader has so eloquently delivered regarding the future of their continent. However, while they share a clear vision for the future, Alduin admits that this continent is still filled with many unknowns. Here in their homeland of Dicathan, there are places so dangerous that no one dares to explore them. But what if there's a possibility of even greater mysteries and dangers lurking beyond their borders? With that said, the Elven King formally announces that they have found evidence of another continent. The mention of a new continent sends the crowd into a frenzy, and clamor erupts everywhere. Arthur had expected the common folks to react this way, but the King of the Elves quickly steps in and calms everyone down. He explains that even they don't know much yet and have many questions that remain unanswered. What they do know, however, is that out there lies another continent, full of mystery, adventure, and possibly danger. He adds that there's even evidence suggesting the other continent has tried to reach Dicathan as well, but the current technology on both sides doesn't allow them to travel such a great distance. That's when the Dwarven King rises to address the crowd, calling for silence. As Alduin said, they don't know much yet. However, he emphasizes to the masses that, in these times of uncertainty, one thing is clear: standing together, as one people, is what's best for their continent and its future. Fighting amongst themselves is pointless. Their appearances may be different, and their cultures may sometimes clash, but everyone must remember that they were all born on the continent of Dicathan, and he for one is really proud of that. He hopes future generations will feel the same way. He asks the crowd if they share the same sentiment. For a moment, the crowd falls silent, deep in thought. Then, they erupt into a round of applause, clearly confirming their support for the idea. The process of bringing the 3 races and kingdoms together is a long-term endeavor. To ensure the process runs smoothly, 6 individuals will be appointed for this important task. These individuals, chosen by the royal families, are believed to be the most courageous, tactful, intelligent, and powerful representatives of their respective nations. They will represent each of the 3 races on a continental scale. The primary goal of these 6 individuals will be to defend and safeguard the well-being of Dicathan. They will work alongside the rulers of this continent to ensure their home remains protected as they enter this exciting new era. These individuals will henceforth be known as the 6 Lances. Each lance symbolizes the unity they share, not only with their own kingdoms, but with the entire continent. To represent this, each of them is given a special ring that signifies their title and will be recognized throughout Dicathan. The first representative is Alea Triskin, followed by Varai Orai. Then comes the third, Ulfrid Warrand. The fourth, Aya Greffin. The fifth, Mika Earthborn. And finally, Baron Wykes. The mention of this familiar name completely catches Elijah off guard. Even Arthur doesn't look quite pleased to hear that name, and a thick tension surrounds him after spotting one of the Wykes family members on stage. The day of the announcement serves as a harsh reality check for Arthur. Lucas Wykes, whose insubordination and betrayal led to the deaths of most of their party, had used his family's power and connections to walk free from his atrocities. Arthur had been warned that seeking revenge against Lucas would be suicide. Standing behind Lucas was his older brother, a powerful mage who now holds the title of a lance. While this complicates his plans, Arthur decides to push all of it aside for now, as he has more pressing matters to attend to, such as his sister's birthday. He's ready for the event, looking like an absolute gentleman. When Sylvie tries to come with him, he quickly tells her to stay in the room for the night. There might be some guests at Ellie's birthday party who are watching him as a pretense, so he doesn't want to take any chances. He reassures his little buddy that he'll make sure someone brings back lots of food for her. That promise is enough to perk the little one's spirits, and with that, they happily wave goodbyes to each other. The night is lively, and the mansion is getting busy with the arrival of all the guests. Arthur can be seen standing at the door, welcoming everyone inside. Meanwhile, Elijah is in the corner, talking to some hot chick. He doesn't waste the opportunity and invites her to grab some lunch together later. But his clumsy attitude causes him to spill his drink all over his clothes, and it doesn't take long for the girl to put some distance between him and her. Arthur quickly twirls around to avoid eye contact with his friend, knowing it would only embarrass the poor guy further. Finally, the spotlight of the day arrives, with her mother playfully covering her eyes. As soon as they